2 by 2, 7 rows deep.
And rolling up to the start-finish line. It looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Say we're making an amazing dive into turn 1.
And electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into town row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fantastic Simufur series. I am a brand new commentator in the booth. It's Frei. I'm one of the drivers for Blue Shark E-Racing. Done a bit of commentary on the side before, and I thought, what better time to hop in the commentary box than this brand new series in Assetto Corsa, the new Simufur GT Legends series. 34 different drivers, 7 iconic cars, and 4 of the world's most iconic tracks. And in this round, we're going to be going around the 1998 layout of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. There is no better starting point for these absolute works of art on wheels than what many would consider to be the home of international motorsport, and at the very least the home of Great British motorsport. I'm joined in the commentary box by Wolfin.
Hello and welcome as we follow along now with RK, who has been setting pretty decent times. They've been on the top 2 at the moment, or top 3 I should say. Only about 5 or 6 tenths off, but it's still early in practice, so we'll see where this goes as we head now down the long straight, heading toward, I believe this is going to be Abbey. Yes, this is Abbey. Down into the corner, and this is just such a unique look. It is very interesting, at least for me, because I never watched anything in Silverstone up until a few years ago. To see how much this track has changed over the years is just honestly incredible.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the track kind of had its unofficial start in the late 1940s after it was shut down from being an RAF base, a couple of mates coming around here and just racing their cars around, doing their own kind of thing that might have been slightly less than legal at the time. And eventually, what became the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, hosting the first Formula 1 Grand Prix all the way back in 1950. And ever since then, because of many regulation changes and different things that have happened to the track, you know, the track itself has changed a lot. I mean, in recent years, it's kind of stayed the same, but I think this 1998 version was the last time we've seen any sort of real change compared to what we've got going on now. And the track is mostly the same. This came after Senna had his tragic accident at Imola, where there was an international push to make racing a lot safer. So you ended up with a lot of tracks having to change the way that they were laid out. This meant that the Abbey corner at Silverstone, where now you'd normally be hooking a right to go through the village section, has been pushed back by about 100 metres, and you'll be taking a hard left, sliding the car down onto the farm straight, going through Bridge and Priory before allowing our drivers to blast through the final 2 corners. The fastest lap times you're probably going to be seeing are maybe mid to high 45s, maybe 46s, I think, in qualifying, which is just a little bit quicker than what we're maybe used to seeing.
Following on board now, I believe this is Philip Blekavold. I don't remember who they are as far as Simufur goes. We did have a little bit of a technical issue where it went for SimGrid names. We will work on this now. We are heading now down toward Club, I believe this is. Yes, this is Club. And we are driving as little bit of a spin. Oh, that's so unfortunate. They were coming right out of Club right there, and unfortunately, with no TC or no OBS, they just probably added just a little bit too much gas, and unfortunately spun. But now practice has ended, and we will be getting on to qualifying as the last of the few cars come around. And while we're waiting, why don't we bring up these cars? Because, these are cars that are not only iconic for what they did in the early 2000s, but it's just the notes that these things make. When rules were so much different, where it was all about horsepower and just pure speed, I guess is the best way to put it. And it's just the sounds that these cars make is probably one of the most sounds you will never hear again, in my opinion. I don't think we'll ever be hearing stuff like this ever again. We've gotten close with like the Valkyrie, for instance, or the Cadillac, but I don't think we're ever going to see moments like this of just raw, unfiltered just sound, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, these cars are just insane. I believe 5 out of the 7 different cars that we are running have V12 engines in them, and the only ones that kind of are an exception to that are the Dodge Viper with its iconic V10 and the Celine S7 with its V8. So here's one of the Celines, actually. It's one of the more iconic supercars, I think, of the early 2000s. I think anyone that grew up playing games like Forza or, even Grid, I think you're gonna be seeing this car and probably remembering a lot of really awesome times. I don't know if Celine still make cars. I don't know how active they are in American motorsport, but it is just really cool to see a lot of these manufacturers that maybe you don't see as much of in modern motorsport. Your Lister, your Dodge, your Celine, all on the track, and it's just. There's something magical about watching these cars go by, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. To add on to that, Celine, I believe, still works with Ford for upgrade packages, mainly for motors. I believe you could still buy Celine packages for Ford cars, but I think that's about all they do these days, and maybe work for a few racing teams. But I can't really remember. Speaking of other iconic cars, we are now following Thomas Schwartz, as they ride around in their Lamborghini, which I believe also has a V12 on board. And it's another one of those iconic cars that you never really knew about them until they wound up in a video game. And it's just the sound that these cars make is just absolutely amazing as we see Thomas heading into pit lane. And this is going to be different than what we're used to, because in games like ACC, the pit lane is a lot different. Here, it's very unique, and I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. Now, following through Maggots and Beckett's, this is going to be Daniel. Oh, and that was interesting. Yeah. And now...
Yeah, these cars are absolutely incredible, and I think a lot of our drivers are more used to ACC. Obviously, it's what we are all very familiar with. We've run many series in it before, but this is the original Assetto Corsa. This is where it all truly began, and the game is not as polished as ACC. It has its own quirks that make it a very, very unique driving experience. So I'm excited to see how our drivers are going to be able to cope with that as they tackle 60 minutes of Silverstone. I believe it is 60 minutes at least.
Yes, it is 60 minutes. Yep. So another thing that we are bringing up is we are running mods. So this is not base Assetto Corsa, but that's kind of obvious just because of the high quality of these tracks, the beautiful sound, the audio quality. This is not cars that sounded like this in 2016. This is purely mods by amazing developers, and God, I wish I remembered their names, but they did an awesome job, not only on the track, but on the cars themselves. Yeah, Race Sim Studios. And thank you for thank you for that. As we begin qualifying has just started as we can hear the cars roaring out of the pit lane. And following along now with RK, who's able to, looks like, get out first, and they are immediately trying to make as big of a gap as they can. We will be riding now on board with RK as they head down toward Club. Now, driving through this, like, not a lot has changed. Heading down the hangar straight and toward Club, and I gotta say, it's going to be interesting because the times are honestly very similar to what you would set in the modern circuit.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit faster for sure. They're in like the 146s. I think if you're in modern GT3 machines, you are of course running the longer layout because you're also taking the village section, but your faster kind of real life GT3 times are going to be maybe in like the low 2 minutes, maybe high 59s, 58s even. So the fact that the modern GT3 cars are doing essentially an entirely different section of the track that adds on a lot more distance and technicality compared to what I consider kind of almost like a shortcut at Abbey, which takes you down Farm Straight through Bridge and Priory into these kind of last two corners that are kind of very slow and long and sweeping, and it's going to promote drivers who are taking more of a line to really maximize that exit speed to allow their, beautiful engines to just roar out of the corner, get as much traction as possible. And the way you're driving these as well has to be very different. These cars do not have as much aero as these drivers are maybe used to from modern GT machines. They are all about power, and really the grip was I guess a bit of an afterthought. You really do have to drive these things with the utmost care, because if you're too hard on the brakes, you'll lock up. If you're too hard on the throttle, you'll spin out. So it's a really delicate balance that our drivers are going to have to strike as we're watching RK now heading towards Stowe. They're going to have to use those brakes to turn that front end in, using that kind of throwing the weight around the car a little bit, putting it in the right place for each of the corners, and really just throwing it through as many of these corners as quick as they can, hopefully without ruining the tyres too much.
Yeah, agreed. And right now we are following on board with RK, who will be setting the first time of the session. It'll be interesting to see. It looks like they're setting a really good pace, really pushing very hard, going very well through. I believe that was Abbey. Now heading toward Priory. Priory?
Priory.
Yeah. Priory. Okay. I'm American. I can't help it.
No, I don't blame you. A lot of British tracks have very awkward corner names. I mean, every corner at Snetterton has its own backstory, so I'm sure that Silverstone has the same, as we're going to see. RK crossing the line now. Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2, and Purple Sector 3. It's a 1 minute 45.3 from RK.
Oh, Jesus.
Immediately blistering pace off the bat. Immediately to the front of the grid.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Were you expecting anything less from one of the TIG gang drivers? Absolutely insane lap. As the times start coming in, we actually got someone close. Our Spirit is down 2/10 with a 1:45.571. Following along now as they head out of Maggots and Beckett's. Nice and easy. I think, honestly, Spirit has a little bit more of an advantage compared to RK because the Astons actually have traction control. You can control these things a little bit better than you can with the other cars, but it's not great traction control. It doesn't mean that you can just jam the throttle and be fine, and you still don't have ABS. So it's a little bit of a help, but not a major one.
Yeah, it's slightly more forgiving than the rest of the cars, but that's like saying a pile of sawdust is more food than dirt, which, while you're technically correct, I still wouldn't eat either of them. Weird analogy, but This is the sort of stuff that you get when you sign me up to do commentary. F Spirit, I think, also kind of drawing roughly similar times in that final sector to what RK got. Our faster drivers are all doing 27.9s. We've just had Limsnukan in the who's currently in P1. Who is in the Ferrari 575, who's just gone pole. Never mind. RK's just taken it back with a 44.9. I stand completely corrected. RK is... well, I mean, that was only his first lap, so I don't blame him suddenly just picking up that pace. I mean, some say that he is, in fact, a cheater beneath that helmet, and that's where all of the pace comes from. And some say that he puts Guinness in his car's radiator to make it go faster. All we know is he's called RK, and he's absolutely blitzing the field right now.
Very true, and I'm looking at the times right. Yeah, as we follow along now with Tyler, he's on a very mid flyer. Purple Sector 2, I believe it was, last lap. And now they're pushing again to see if they can maybe gain a little bit more time as they head down. Is only 0.02 of a second. That's insane. This lap is setting themselves up for something very special. Let's see how this goes as they head now down the long straight after Club, heading toward Abbey, braking very hard, going into the corner, able to cut those corners very well. You can't go too deep, otherwise the car will get very unsettled and spin. Now heading toward Bridge and then Priory. And so far so good. I'm looking at the times. There are unfortunately no purple sectors, but we'll see. Maybe they're very close though. Let's see. We'll see if this is an outlap or a true lap once they get around. There are no purple sectors, so we'll have to wait and see. And the answer is no. Yeah, it is an outlap.
I mean, even though he was on an outlap, I mean, the pace that he was showing seemed to be pretty good. But again, these cars are very, very unpredictable. So I think we are going to see just a little bit of chaos in today's race. I think some of our drivers might forget what type of car they're driving, maybe go a bit too hard on the brakes or on the throttle. So, you know, that sort of control is something that our drivers are going to have to pay a lot of attention to, and really just making sure everything will continue to run smoothly in these cars. I mean, the field, very, very close together. There's barely about 2 seconds between P2 and P20. So that really just goes to show how close together the grid actually is. I mean, a little bit further back, you know, you have some drivers that are a bit more spread out, maybe still getting to grips with the car. But just seeing how close the field is, I think we're just going to continue to see really close, really intense racing.
I agree, and I'd also like to point out, this is all different cars as we see F-Spirit unfortunately going to Abbey, locking up the brakes. They were able to keep it steady, but that's going to be so much time lost heading down toward Club and into the main straight. That's so unfortunate. It looked like they had a purple Sector 1 that might have cost them into Sector 2. Let's see what happens. And maybe they're able to recover from this, but I'm not sure. That was a pretty heavy lockup. At the very least, their front tires may be in a bit of a dire straits, I guess, at the pace, as we should say, heading down toward Priory and then toward Luffield. It looks like it will be a purple. It was not a purple Sector 2. Oh, and that's very wide. Yep, and that's not gonna. That's unfortunate.
Teleports themselves back into the pit lane. Yeah, our drivers were told previously to get a button to reset them to pits. And we do have Tyler in P1 at the moment, 44.8. purple sector 2 and 3. Gap between them pulled out about 2/10 from RK, who's currently in second place. It's a pretty large gap that they've managed to pull in just a few laps with about 20 minutes left to go in qualifying. RK is still in the pit lane, while a lot of our other drivers are still out there setting some really, really quick laps, still looking at this Ferrari, the bright red, iconic looking number 14 of Tyler, currently blitzing through the final couple of corners. Again, these ones are going to be really, really tricky. I mean, most of the time, that left-hander, you're approaching it with a lot more speed. Exit of Priory spits you on at the end of the Wellington Straight, so you don't have as much speed. You're really having to control the rotation a little bit squirrely on the exit there, as Tyler's going to be coming through these final corners, seeing if he can best his lap time. He's not bested it, but he's set a lap time that was very, very close, only about 1/4 of a tenth between his best lap and that final lap that he just set there. So not only was he able to set such a good qualifying lap time, but that lap he just set would have also gotten him pole if his previous lap was invalid.
That is very unfortunate. As we follow along now with Luke Parker, who's also been setting some very good times. Right now, they're heading, I believe this is going to be the last corner. They've set it very well, and the answer is going to be, where is that going to put them? Is it going to be P2? Maybe? No.
It was an outlap, I think. Tyler is just sitting in the pit lane, and Parker has maybe accidentally put himself into the pits.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't feel the tires were good? I don't know. Now following Newt, who's on Maggots and Beckett's, and has a little bit of a train going here with, I believe that's going to be Xavier, and I believe their name is Driftforth 340. And in these cars, the draft really doesn't matter. It looks like, actually, never mind. It looks like Xavier's going to let Newt pass as they head down through Stowas. Unfortunately, Newt goes very wide into the grass.
No.
That is insanely unfortunate as they head back into pit lane, unsurprisingly. As we follow along with now Chris, another TGR driver. Memory serves right. I probably could be wrong.
I don't think he drives for TGR. I think he is an independent driver. Always nice to see, but he is in the Lister, which I personally recognise from my days of playing Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2. It was one of my favourite race cars, just because I'd never seen it anywhere before. It made such an incredible noise, and it was really fun to drive. I can't remember how competitive it was if you took it to any of the really quick race events, but it didn't matter to me because Tokyo drifting, nearly losing it there out of that final corner, able to just about keep it together in that number 32. And he's coming across the line. That was an outlap that he did there, but I don't think that slide is going to do his tyres any good. So he's just going to continue to floor it as much as he can and see if he can improve from P12, where he's currently 1.6 down on the leader, and he's only got about a 200th gap between Sad ahead of them. So they are going to have to push pretty hard if they want to improve from their current time of 46.4. And I think Afon Jaeger's just gone up to P8 as well with a 46.2. I think I might have been a little bit cautious with the times that I was thinking we'd be seeing. Like I said, 45s and 46s. I was not picturing 44s to show up yet, but we have, and I'm hoping to see even more pace from some of the front runners here as we're nearly halfway through qualifying. I think the best is still yet to come from some of these drivers.
I agree, and it's very interesting because I've not really seen such a tight grid before, at least here. It usually comes like the stars have aligned, I guess, because The bop is very even. It's kept all the cars very close to each other. The times are not far off, like you said. Between the top 20, the gap's only about 2 seconds. That's insane. Everybody's gonna have a lot of people to race with. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is on the race start, because guess what? This is not a rolling start. This will be a standing start, and if people are not used to doing a standing start, they stall the car or something. That can make things very interesting once the race starts.
Especially since I don't have any traction control either. We've seen Chris struggling through this lap as he has to take avoiding action with another lister ahead of him. Goes straight off there. That's a big shame. But yeah, we've seen him really struggling with the with his car, especially out of the second to last corner. I really should pull up my my track map. Make sure that I'm actually getting these corner names right. It is indeed Luffield. Okay, right. Yes.
The British man doesn't know British circuit in World 11. As we see Fez absolutely send it into that corner, and I believe the person ahead of them, that was, I believe, Sadkin? I believe they were on an outlap, so that's gonna probably go to the stewards. Unfortunately, head of Simufur, I guess, did not have any patience whatsoever and just absolutely sent it going into Vale. And I don't know if it's going to affect their time at all, but we'll see. So far, their times have appeared. Yeah, they're both improvements, so this is definitely a flying lap if I've ever seen one. They're definitely trying to get themselves a little bit further up the grid, and that's probably why they just absolutely sent it there, because, oh no! Very much a wiggle going out of the last corner as they head now toward the final straight. Is it going to be an improvement?
Yes, it is. P13 for Fez. I mean, that was a very, very well-held, well-controlled slide, but that did probably cost them a little bit of time. I don't think too much, but definitely enough to worry them a little bit.
Following along now with Anka, and this is a driver we haven't seen in a very long time, actually. Anka has not raced with Simufur for, I want to say, the better part of a year. It's great to see him back, and he's definitely one of those top drivers, and he's definitely showing it. He is up in P6 at the moment, and I believe, he improved on his Sector 2. Can he improve on his Sector 3? And will this be a position change? No, it will not. Unfortunately, they lost a little bit too much time, and they stay where they are.
Yeah, 46-1 on that lap. A couple other drivers are improving. Wushel is currently in P11. Oily improved as well, up to P14, a 46-2 from him. Barely about 200ths between him and Fez, so he's going to try and push his lister as far up the grid as he can. And currently Anka in the pit lane.
Yeah, he got very loose going out of Beckett's. As I noticed as well, Newt has also improved on their time. They are now in P7 with a 1:45.627. Not bad. Definitely are trying to maybe gain a little bit more time. There's still plenty of time left. We've got 11 minutes 20 seconds left on the clock. So we still haven't really seen the final laps that these drivers can put out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these cars, I don't know how long it takes to warm up the tyres. I've opted to not drive them, taking a little bit of a break from racing, because stuff gets hectic. And I'm almost certain that the on-track action today is going to be just as hectic as we roll through Brooklands and Luffield again on Oily's lap. I think this one was also an outlap, because I'm seeing a 69-second first sector, and while that is a nice time, it's not going to be nice enough to put them all the way up into P1. So just throwing it through the corners. You might also notice, for those with a keen eye, that we're not seeing any of the actual brand logos. We are referring to them as what they obviously look like, but Race Sim Studio made cars that look very akin to certain real-life race cars that they are not allowed to name for licensing reasons, but we're allowed to say it, I think. Probably.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, pending. We love the Assetto Corsa modding community. I think, this game has had such incredible potential, I think, for what it did at the time, and for what it still continues to do. Like, it holds up today as one of the more accessible sim racing games that is kind of out there on the market, because even outside of the regular kind of base game content, you find the game up for sale all the time. You're able to get all the content you want, like, really cheap, essentially whenever, wherever. But as well as that, you have the incredible modding community. If you can name track or anything, really, there's going to be something out there for you. So, if you are wanting to maybe try your hand at a little bit of racing, trying to get into sim racing for the first time, I don't think there is a better place that you could start than Assetto Corsa, for sure.
Agreed, as I've been keeping an eye on Oily as they've gone through, and oh no! I was about to say
curse.
I would say commentator's curse. They were on double greens. This was a massive improvement on their time, and they unfortunately blew it on the last corner. That is so unfortunate. It looked like they were actually going to almost maybe overtake Fez there, but now they're back to square one as we follow back on board with RK, who's currently they haven't really been. Yeah, they have not really improved, but they are definitely on a flyer. But that's not going to be a flyer. That is very wide going out of bridge into the grass. So unfortunately, that time will definitely be invalidated. So yeah, as we see, it looks like his tires may be very much done, or something on that, or something similar. But unfortunately, this lap has gone from a flyer to an outlap, as they head now down toward the final straight. As we follow along now with Fez, who has improved on both times. This is definitely a flyer, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty massive improvement as they head down toward the final corner. Is Fez going to be able to keep it up nice and clean through the final corner? Now heading to start finish. This could be a good this could be a game changer. Let's see where they end up.
P7. Blistering lap time from Fez. A 45.6. Absolutely incredible. Spinning it. Coming at the cops. I mean, I knew Lamborghini made tractors, but I didn't know Ferrari made lawnmowers, as Fez does go off at cops, celebrating that P7. And you know what? That is a celebration that is well deserved.
Yeah, and as we follow along with, I believe that is Xavier.
There's MNU, I think.
Yeah, I believe this is MNU as they head. So, last lap, they had a purple Sector 1. So let's see if they can improve. They definitely are green on the Sector 2. And let's see, maybe they can really improve this lap. Maybe gain a couple spots. Let's see. Heading now down through Club, now toward Abbey. No problems there. The traction control really setting through. I actually, you know what? I think this is an outlap. They've been really weaving this car on the main street. I think they're trying to get heat in these tires.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't really know how you gain the heat in these cars. Locking
that's one way.
A little bit. Yeah, no, that is definitely a way of heating up the tires. Not one I'd recommend. But I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat, or I guess in this case, drives your car. As MNU is going to be blasting that British Racing Green Aston Martin through the final couple of corners. Again, I do just want to say, this era of cars, they all just looked so beautiful. That was indeed an outlap, but he is absolutely flying on this one. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what can he do. That looks like he spins it at cops.
Yeah, spun it at cops, went very wide. Unfortunately, I think they just ate a little bit too much curve going out of cops, and unfortunately, it just sent them around. I actually did do a little bit of testing in most of the cars that are being run today. It is nerve-wracking. I mean nerve-wracking. Like, the car really makes you not want to push it, and it will very much tell you if you can. And we would just have to wait, and like it's unnerving, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these cars are all, basically all of them except for the Aston Martin have no traction control whatsoever, which does make it really, really tricky to drive. And it's going to be especially tricky on the start because, as we mentioned earlier, it is a standing start. So our drivers are going to be having to be very careful on the throttle as they start the race. And that was a very interesting line from Ket in the orange Celine, pulling off the track completely and into the pit lane. I know that the drivers are using the track to heat up their tyres, and I've seen some people using the grass to cool off their tyres in iRacing, but I don't think that's what they were aiming for this time. 4 minutes left in quali, so it's crunch time now for the drivers. Can they set a very, very good lap in these last few minutes of quali? I think there's going to be enough time for maybe 3 more laps. If you're already out on track, blasting the car down, you're still in with a chance to best that.
Yeah, and as we see Oily lock up a little bit going in out of Abbey and into Bridge. It was a minor one, so I don't think it'll lose a lot of time. But now they're heading down toward, I believe this is this is Brooklands. Sorry, my brain just shut off there for a second.
Brooklands and Luffield here.
Yeah, Brooklands and Luffield. As down into Luffield they go. I don't believe this will be an improvement, but they're definitely trying to see what they can do. Here we go. Yeah, no, I believe this was probably a not lap.
I have also been corrected in the chat that Chris is indeed a TGR driver. I was just used to him driving under his own moniker of Gator Racing, but he did join a TGR not too long ago. That's probably why I'm not used to hearing him as a TGR driver, but congratulations to him for joining the team whenever that was. We're going to ride on board now with Oily in the Lister, and I'm just going to be quiet for a second so we can appreciate the engine noise. Fantastic. So we're coming now into Club Corner, and this is going to lead us down towards Abbey. Wait, no, it's not Abbey. Hold on. Let me get this right.
That is Vale.
No, it is. It is Vale. Oh yes. No. Yeah. Sorry. British man doesn't know British track. Crazy. So, yeah, through the Vale chicane and out of Club Corner, they're going to be blasting down towards Abbey. You can see on the left of the screen, that's where you'd normally take that left-hander, and losing the car into the barriers through Abbey. Easy enough mistake to make, just carrying a little bit too much speed and losing the car. Tyres are going to be really, really hot now.
I think a few other things are going to be hot from that, because I think the front end probably does no longer exist, as we see Oily now using the escape road to pull off, and I believe they're just going to probably put it in pit lane, because I think I believe we are running damage. So
I don't think we are actually running damage.
We are? I thought we were.
From what I'd heard, I think we weren't running damage, but that the drivers are still going to have to think about tyre wear, fuel, and of course respectful driving. The fact that you don't damage the car. Yes. So just because damage is off doesn't mean that the drivers are going to be afforded anything for more reckless behaviour, as we see F-Spirit coming across. Start their final flying lap with only 45 seconds left in qualifying. It's going to leave a few of our drivers to the very last second to set a proper lap time as we're going to watch F-Spirit pilot their Aston Martin through Maggots and Beckett's. Again, another section of the track that has stayed mostly the same since the founding of Silverstone back in the 1950s. Has had a few changes to the profiling of the corner itself, as they're going to go down a couple gears to pull the car through Club as they blast down the back straight through towards Vale. You'll also notice the lack of sausage curbs in this version of the Silverstone track, which I think make it infinitely better than the current version. We've seen many accidents occur because the sausage curbs are there. I keep being reminded of the F2 incident that I think Dan Ticktum had, where he basically mounted another Formula 2 car, locking up the brakes, going over the sausage curb and flying. Speaking of flying, F-Spirit is going to be flying their car through Priory, spitting them out to the end of the Wellington Straight. Doesn't look like much of an improvement, but they might be able to pull something out of this final sector. And they are a couple tenths down. Again, you can just see they're taking a bit of a wider line into the corner, cutting back for the exit, using all of that space there, trying to carry as much momentum out of the corner as they possibly can, cutting the inside at Woodcut as much as possible. Can they make any sort of improvement on the last lap? They do improve in that last sector, but it's not enough to improve their time. So I think that is the end of qualifying for F-Spirit, and the checkered flag is going to be flying for our drivers now. So these last few last laps are going to be the last ones.
This is going to be RK's last lap. Let's see. They actually got bumped by F-Spirit. Oh, never mind. They were bumped by F-Spirit. Not anymore. They're now back in P3. But somebody else actually, out of nowhere, while we were talking, actually beat RK's time. And I believe that was M&U.
That is
from
indeed
out of
M&U.
By 1/10 of all things. Like, by 1/10, that's actually pretty crazy.
I think the real crazy thing is the man on pole position in that red Ferrari by nearly 3.5 tenths with 1 minute 44.64. I think that pole time isn't going to be beat in this session. I'm not sure who else is on track. I think everybody is back in the pit lane, so that is going to put an end to qualifying today. We've got Tyler in P1, with MNU just behind and RK rounding off with the top three, followed by F-Spirit, Packer, Anka, Fez, Newt, Wushel and Dip, finishing off your top 10 for qualifying. We've got 31 drivers looking to tackle Silverstone today. 60 minutes at one of the world's most iconic tracks, and I'm really looking forward to see which driver can conquer this part of the UK. I mean, it's a fantastic track. And if I can be perfectly honest, I kind of like this layout more than the current layout.
I mean, I kind of like it. I think for me, it definitely invokes like the really much nostalgia vibes from the 90s, and it's great. I don't know. It was one of those tracks that I kind of liked, but didn't really like. I didn't love, I guess is the best way to put it. I kind of like the longer straights, is I guess my opinion. I do kind of miss the longer straights, such as the Hamilton straight, and I believe that was Vale straight, which was the other one.
Wellington, I think, is
Wellington straight.
Yeah. So the reason why this track has so many straights is, it was built on an old airfield where the RAF used to be stationed between 1943 and 1946. They were laid out in this kind of triangle pattern. That's why you ended up with kind of the layout of Silverstone that you see today. It's kind of, it's branched out from that a lot, but if you squint, you can kind of see where the three runways for all the fighter jets would have been back in the mid-40s. Though afterwards, I would argue, watching these cars blast down the same runways that were previously used by planes, I'd argue the cars were a lot more fun to watch at this track.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely it fits. I mean, this track existed around that time when these cars were around. It just everything fits. It really hits a nostalgic feel as we currently are waiting for the cars to grid up. And I gotta say, I'm super excited. This will be the first ever mainline AC championship. I guess is the best way to put it. We have done one-ups in the past, but this will be the very first AC championship, and I'm eager to see, especially with how close the grid is, how this race turns out.
I'm going to be coming onto the grid now. What is happening here? So in this race, we do have a lot of different cars that are all going to be partaking, and a lot of different drivers who are all incredibly talented. And I mean, these cars are all going to be very tricky to drive, especially off the start with cold tires, no traction control. You might be seeing a couple wheels spinning, and hopefully we won't be seeing any sort of crashes as the drivers pull off the line to start. I mean, there are so many cars on the grid. I think there are some people who are starting in Woodcut Corner, further back down the grid. There is also a mandatory pit window, I believe, within this race, where refueling and a tyre change are mandatory. Of course, you don't have to do a full refuel, you have to add at least 1 litre, but I think if you're stopping for tyres anyway, you might as well run less fuel to start off with and just refuel to the end of the race.
Yes. Right now we are just still waiting for the.
Yeah, so everything seems to be. I mean, it's going to be really fun watching these cars battle around this historic circuit. It's going to be so fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what our drivers can do today.
Yep, as we're waiting for the cars to fully grid up, we can hear the engines. Grid's locked up, we're lighting up, and it's lights out, and away we go. Immediate chaos going into the turn 1. We went 4 wide going into turn 1 as we see RK get an amazing jump going into the going into Maggots and Baggots. They are now ahead as we head down, and it looks like I haven't seen any problems with our with anyone currently as we follow along now with, I believe this is, I'm honestly not sure of which we're having. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is happening right now. I mean, we're coming up to Club Corner. I think we've even got a few drivers going 3 wide. We've got Azure currently getting overtaken by Drift 430 around the outside. Both of them, I think, are in the same car, the Ferrari. But I think they're in slightly different Ferraris, I think. Drift up the inside is in the 550. And there's a spin! Big crash there at the Vale chicane. That is the Lamborghini of Anchor, who is dropping down the grid. A lot of other drivers are going to have to try and avoid that, but that was a big incident there. Taverner currently coming back on track, being overtaken by Zephyr and Lily. Lots of other drivers have dipped down the grid, and the drivers who have spun out and maybe been involved in that incident are going to have hot tyres. You can just see Skylar having a little bit of a squirrely exit there, and there's another big crash.
That was simultaneous drifting as we see. I believe that is
Azure and Drift, I think, who've maybe come together out of Priory. They've both had a bit of a spin, and there's been another car. I think that is Swingley. He's basically, parallel parked it on the track. So there is chaos happening up and down the grid. But I think most of the drivers have made it through nice and clean. Currently,
you spoke too
I
soon.
have just jinxed that. I am so sorry, Parcho, who is now spun it at turn 1. That's Cops now trying to get the dirt off their tyres and continue their way through the grid, dropping down into P21. We've got a Viper going rallying, barely avoiding contact with the other cars on the grid. I think that is a code brown for some of these drivers. I think Skylar already struggled earlier, but I think just seeing a Dodge rallying through Maggots and Beckett, looking like they were about to take you out, like it was something from Burnout. I mean, Skylar, I don't know how they managed it, but they're now going up the inside of the number 6 Viper of Dip. They're going side by side, but Dip, he's gone off. He's rallying. He's going through the grass, sliding the car. Well, okay. Let's look back to Wishel.
Yeah, we're following along now with Wishel as we see them trying to gain a little bit of ground in P5. As we follow along now with Chris in a massive battle with 4 other drivers, and it's chaos. So you'll have to forgive us. We're trying to keep tabs on everything going on. As Chris now trying to make a move on on Vossi, it looks like the gap between them is not even a half a second as they head down toward the main straight. It's going to be very interesting to see as they line themselves up heading into turn 1. Is there going to be any moves made or not?
Yeah, I mean, there is just chaos happening up and down the grid. I mean, this is my first time doing anything with AC, so you will have to forgive me for maybe getting lost a little bit in the commentary, because there is just so much happening with 30 cars on the grid. Chris is still following very close behind, but Fez, right behind Packer, is really going to be looking for a bit of a move coming into Club.
You were talking about a
steering around the outside at Club. He looks for a move. Can he get the better traction? He's still got a wheel alongside. It's very, very close racing between Fez and Packer. Fez up the inside, coming into the Vale chicane, and he is able to make that move stick. What a fantastic overtake we've received from Fez. Brilliant move from the British driver in the number 36 Ferrari. Absolutely fantastic racing.
Absolutely sent it going into Club, or not Club, I apologize, heading into the corner, and it just worked. I was a little bit nervous because we've seen a lot of drivers lock up going into chicane, and for some reason it didn't happen. They were able to keep each other from making contact as we follow along now with this next battle between I believe that is
Lillian HD. Is that Newt? Yeah. Newt's falling back down the grid.
Yeah, that's Newt in the grid. Newt's in the sand. What happened there?
I mean, he's barely been able to get back on the track. I don't know if we have the facilities for an instant replay, but yeah, I think Newt might have just went a little bit wide. He's on the tyres. He has spun it, but we are looking for this battle for third at the moment, with MNU battling with Tyler. Through Maggots and Beckett's they go, side by side. MNU gets the better of the Ferrari driver, managing to absolutely pilot the Aston Martin up into second place as they're going down the hangar straight now, coming into Club Corner. Tyler isn't going to let this move just go by that easily. He is going to be following very, very close behind, trying to get that slipstream and trying to use all the power, all of that Italian V12 in that Ferrari, trying to let it scream and roar its way up to the back of and hopefully past.
As we follow a three-way battle with 3 wide in the Club. I think 3 wide in the Club. It's almost 3 wide in the Club. I think somebody backed off.
That is Leparcho off. I think they might have been hit on the inside. I don't really know which driver it was, but I mean, with going 3 wide at the Club isn't something I do even in modern GT cars, let alone these that can barely even hold themselves through a corner without the driver needing to really just hold on for dear life. I feel like...
Yeah, speaking of holding on for dear life, we got another 3 wide going into Abbey. It is absolute chaos as we see 2 cars. I believe that was...
It's Phaser and Sierra, I think, who've gone off the track.
Oh,
a bit of a
no.
coming together there. Again, it is absolute chaos. I think this race is going to be less about actually making overtakes and more about just surviving to the end, keeping your nose clean, and not getting involved in any incidents. But
Battle for
MNU
first! That
is
was, I don't think...
Oh my gosh! What's happened there?
It looked like RK got extremely loose going into Maggots. They lost the rear end, and I think they just got a little bit of an aero bump from M&U, and it sent them around going into Beckett's. How they didn't hit anyone else is a miracle. As we follow along now with Fez, as they do what they did to Vossi earlier, sending it into Club, and they got it to work a little bit cleaner this time, heading down toward the chicane, nice and easy. It looks like they were gonna try to send it into the chicane. It didn't work. Now heading down into Club. It is absolutely nuts as we are following on board now with Luke as we head down toward the Abbey chicane. This is chaos, man. Oh man.
This might have been one of the most insane races I have ever commentated on. Not just with the cars, not just with the track, but with all of the chaos that's been happening. I mean, not having the tyre warm... I don't think these cars had tyre warmers, at least. But that and the lack of traction control really just means the first couple of laps were just about surviving, warming up those tyres, but instead of immediately sending it, I think some of the drivers might have forgotten what cars they were driving, sent it a little bit too hard, and that's resulted in lots and lots of chaos, but hopefully drivers are going to now settle into their rhythm as we're watching Packer and Wushel currently in the fight for 5th place, both in the same liveried Lamborghini. We're going to go back to P9 to Chris the Gator, the TGR driver in the Lister. Little bit of a squirrely moment there coming out of Cops. Fire shooting out of the side exhaust of that Lister Storm, approaching the back of Vossi's Celine. It feels weird saying those names in a race like this, but man, we're going to go back to Sad Ket, who's currently... there's fighting all the way up and down the grid, as Ket is going to be looking to maybe get a little shuffle on Lapacho. I think Sierra has had a little bit of a wide moment, and that's allowed them the position. Lapacho has gone a little bit off, out of Maggots and Beckett's. Ket is able to just blast past Lapacho. He's been really trying to gamble for a move up the inside at Club. He's really trying to make that one stick. They might even be going side by side into the Vale chicane. Who can break a little bit later? Ket does break a bit later, but it does send them a bit wide. Pacho is going to go looking around the outside, coming on to the National Pit Straight. I believe it's called the Hamilton Straight now. Don't know what it was called back in the 90s, but they're going to be coming now into Abbey. And Pacho looking up the inside of Ket, able to make that move. Ket looking for a little bit of a switchback, coming onto the farm straight, using the power of that Celine, looking around the outside, wheel in the grass, but that is Pacho back past the orange Celine of Ket, who is currently down in P23. Very, very good move by Lapacho. I'd say he really had all the cards in his hand for that one and was able to just make that move. I think that's Skylar who's had a bit of a spin there off in the grass. He's really been able to get it done, and Ket has a little bit of a wobble on the exit of Luffield coming through Woodcut now. He's still trying to slipstream Pacho. Looking up now to the fight for P11 between McDonald and Azure, looking up the inside of Maggots and Beckett's. Coast around the outside of McDonald's car. We're going to go on board with Lily in P13 in their Aston Martin, who has a front row seat to watch these two Ferraris go wheel to wheel. McDonald is just trying to hold behind Azure for as long as they possibly can. Just really trying to send it wherever and whenever they can. The Aston Martin, of course, trying to make a little bit of a move on the bright red Ferrari of McDonald, who is really in good control of their, I believe that's the 575. But that Aston, again, beautiful looking, beautiful sounding. I mean, that the same goes for, I think, all the cars on the grid. Coming down on the very small farm straight, through Bridge and Priory. Looking for a move. I think
It
McDonald
worked.
has maybe
Yeah, they
went
got
off. They got that position, and they're up into P12. McDonald went a little bit wide coming out of Priory. Lily saw that and said, thank you very much, I'll take that. Manages to get themselves all the way up into P12, chasing down number P11. We're going to look back to the fight for P14 with HD, who's currently being trailed by Oily. This Viper, again, screaming American V10, one of the more iconic engines on the grid, basically being pushed through the corner by the Lister of Oily, who's going to be looking up the inside, coming into Magnus and Beckett. Thinks better of it, but I think HD knows that this move isn't going to be an if, but a when, as he's basically drifting through Magnus and Beckett. The way that these corners are, you are slowing the car down as you're kind of continuing through them, and that kind of gradual slowing is going to be really tricky for some of these drivers, especially since these cars don't have ABS. I think we are also looking for a bit of a move up the inside from Chris, who is going up the inside at Club Corner. Managed to make that move stick. Very, very decisive from him. He's then looked around the outside of HD, and he's managed to make that move stick as well. Oily looking for it as well on the Viper, manages to make that go past, and in just a couple of corners, HD has gone down from 14th to 16th. He's now getting chased by Dip, who has gone around the outside on the exit of Club Corner. So coming in Abbey, it's not even been 3 corners, and he's already dropped 3 positions down from P14 to P17, so he's really going to push to try and get that back. Goes a little bit too much on the curb, slides the car coming onto the farm straight. So he's the number 22 Viper is really going to try quite hard to get their positions back, but it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle, as they also have the car of Shay Khan just behind them. The black and orange Lamborghini looking for the move, and it's a little bit of a slide there from Dip, nearly going into the pit lane with that one. Just able to keep the car on the track. I think a lot of the drivers might be starting to struggle, depending on the tyre strategy that they're trying to run. They might start to see a little bit of tyre wear, but they are going to have to pit, I think, within the middle 20 minutes of that race. That is between 40 minutes and 20 minutes remaining. The drivers are going to have to pull into the pit lane, refuel, and slap on some new tyres. As Dip is looking for a move, I'm not sure which driver that is, but they've managed to make it past. I believe that is Zephyr, who's a lapped car. They've just gone off there, managing to get back on the track barely. But he is really, really struggling with the car, as HD is still being chased down by that Lamborghini. And there's action happening all up and down the grid, and there's a few drivers who are really struggling with their car.
Absolutely, it's been fight after fight after fight. I've been keeping an eye on the gaps between the drivers, and it's between the top 3, it's 10 seconds. Or the top 4, I should say, 10 seconds. Then RK with a 14-second gap, but is being chased by Luke Parker for P5 and P6. They are only about, I want to say, within 6/10. So this could be winding up into something interesting. That's trouble.
It's been there for Shay Khan.
Shay spinning in Bridge, I believe that was. Did they maybe go a little bit too wide and spin? I don't really know. I missed it.
I feel like I saw a little bit of dust being kicked up, so maybe going a little bit wide into the gravel, so their tyres not going to be hot, they're also going to be covered in tiny little rocks that are really not going to help the car's grip. As we switch our perspective now to Chris, battle for P13 with Oily just behind and Dip just behind them, so this could be a 3-way fight, but with Oily having a gap of just about 3/10 to the yellow and green Lister, which is opening up a little bit. I think Chris has just had a really good run through Maggots and Beckett. This does bring Dip maybe back into the fight, as the gap between Dip and Oily is now narrowing down about 8/10. Looking now to the battle for P10 with Suzuka and Azure. These two drivers are not only team owners but also driving for their team. I mean, not like you'd be able to tell because we're not running custom liveries in this, unfortunately. But Suzuka, who we know from Blue Shark E-Racing, and who we're currently on board with, Azure, who is the mastermind behind the Vidge Racer project team, who's had many championship wins and very talented drivers signing up. Suzuka does go a little bit wide through Priory, and that has just given Azure a gold-plated invitation up the inside, which he happily takes. And that's Azure up in the P10 in the Ferrari, but Suzuka's Lamborghini is not going to be giving up anytime soon, so they're going to continue to show no mercy as we switch now up into P3, or is that P7? I can't read.
We're up battle for P7 as we follow along now with Esprit, who's on an absolute charge trying to catch up to Wushel and heading through Maggots and Beckett's. However, they were in, I would like to say, Dirk, they were in P3, but at some point it looked like they had either a major mistake or they went off, because now they're back in P7 and they're trying to make up all that lost time. It's going to be a bit, but let's see if maybe they can do it, because there's still plenty of time and pit lane should be opening in about 1 minute.
Yeah, there is certainly a lot of race left. With the pit window opening, I do see a few drivers who are on different compounds of tyres. We're going to go look back at Blade Wolf, who seems to have had a bit of an off there, taking their Aston Martin in for a little bit of a rally. I know that they had this option in, I think it was Dirt Rally 2, but I wouldn't recommend driving these cars on the dirt. They don't really have tyres that work very well in those sorts of conditions. Managing to keep the car going straight, thankfully, promoting Newt up in a P20. Looking through to Dip's car at the moment, the white, black and red Viper, very pretty looking livery, currently chasing down McDonald in the red and yellow Ferrari. I think that is the 575. I'm really bad at distinguishing which cars are which, but that is Dip up the inside at Abbey, decisively done move, and that is Dip all the way up into P15. Very good driving from the Dutchman.
Absolutely, really good job, and now they're keeping it clean as they head along now toward, I believe this was Priory into Abbey, as pit lane has now opened, and they will have 20 minutes to serve a mandatory pit stop as we follow Dip along for the final turn. And it looks like, I don't know who P16 is, but they've now caught up to this little pack here and are now, it is Drift 340. They've now caught up, I believe. But they've now caught up to this pack and are now on an absolute charge. They were one of the top drivers, but unfortunately got into a little bit of trouble in the start and are now on an absolutely monster of a recovery drive.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job at keeping that car going. I think just keeping their nose out of any incidents, just keeping it clean. I think illustrating why clean driving is always better than fast driving, making a little bit of a dummy move up the inside at Club. That did seem to actually work though, as it sent McDonald wide. Drift 340 up the inside, manages to take that move. Fantastic job from the yellow Ferrari.
Absolutely played that man like a piano and was able to get through the inside, and now having their sights set on Dip. They still got a little bit of a they've got a second to pull the gap in, but with pit stops and everything else as we see, I believe that it was a very big lockup going into Abbey, heading now through Bridge. It'll be interesting to see what the pit stops are going to be like as we wait for the first ones to pit. That'll probably happen within the next 5 or 10 minutes, I believe.
Definitely. I mean, these cars do have a lot of power, and I think that we've had a lot of people who've spun, who've maybe worn out the tyres a little bit quicker by being more aggressive on the throttle. So they are going to have to pit around some point, but the strategy then becomes the Ferrari then become... sorry. My gosh, my brain has just shut down. Allow me a moment to reset. The real strategy then becomes, when do you switch tyres? What compound do you switch to? How hard do you want to push these tyres? As Drift 340 is already caught up to Dip, doing a fantastic job, about 2/10 the gap between them. There is going to be an element of strategy here. Every driver is going to have to do a pit stop with some refueling and a tyre change. That gap is now down to just 1/10. Is he going to try and do the same thing to Dip that he did to McDonald? It seemed to work last time, so there's no reason it wouldn't work this time. Dip just manages to plant the car in a really good position. Dip is one of our more experienced drivers. He's able to really just defend from that yellow Ferrari, just putting that car exactly where he needs to. The number 58 Ferrari still chasing down that Dodge Viper to try and claim P15 from him. It's very, very close between these two. Again, nearly about 2/10, about a quarter of a second between them. He's looking at the outside at Abbey. Can't make that move stick because Dip is just doing a fantastic job at defending. He's not slowing himself down too much. Of course, he's got about a 6.5 second gap to Oily ahead of him. And that gap doesn't seem to have opened up much since these two have started fighting. Dip is just positioning his car exactly where he needs to. This is like a defensive masterclass that we're seeing here. 340 is really just trying to pour that pressure onto him, really just saying, hey, I'm here, I'm behind you, I'm in your mirrors, and I could go for an overtake at any point. But Dip is calling his bluff, and he's really just holding him behind, which could actually push him back closer towards McDonald. And it does look like that gap between Dip and Drift 340 has stayed the same. Between Dip and Oily, it has opened up by about a second. But so this fight is going to be hurting Dip's race. But I think this is what we all came here for. The thrill watching these retro GT cars really just go wheel to wheel and fight as hard as they're fighting now, coming out of Maggots and Beckett's and onto the hangar straight.
Yeah, heading down toward the hangar straight, it looks like Dip may try, or 360 may try that move again, but they were probably going to be a little bit weary of it because it didn't work the last time, didn't work this time. Now heading down toward Abbey as they head down toward the chicane, and looks like things are kind of evened out. I think at this point, what they're probably going to end up doing is just cool off the tires a little bit, see if they can take an advantage as we head now down toward Club Corner, and now the long straight afterwards. And you can see Dip sees this coming. He knows he's going to try to make a move on the outside, keeps him in the middle as best he can while not sacrificing too much time. As you can see, these all over the back of Dip. It's going to be only a matter of time, and then through a bridge. I think Dip got unfortunately loose, but then Drift went wide going into Priory. Now heading into the left corner. Here we go, going back again with the over and under. Are we going to try it again? No, Dip keeps it on the inside, hugging the apex to prevent 360 from getting that position back.
It's a masterfully executed switchback there by Dip. Really let him, thought he had it through Priory, but then up the inside through Brooklands. Just really fantastic overtaking there. Really good battle that we're seeing between these two drivers. Both of them are on the medium tyre, so the pit stop strategy between the two might be similar, but it does depend what tyre they're going to go on to next. They could go for another set of mediums if they have them, or perhaps some hards if they want to be safe towards the end of the race, or they'll try and extend the mediums for as long as they can to then go onto a set of softs towards the end of the race. I'm not sure if the softs will actually last for as long as the drivers would want them to, so we might just be seeing medium and hard tyres in use here.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm looking at the charts right now, it looks like the popular tyre for this race has been the mediums, and I will say, driving the mediums, they definitely feel a lot better than, say, the hards or the softs, so maybe we're just probably going to see a majority double mediums. Maybe the ones in the hards are going to try to go for maybe a longer stint and try to gain some positions that way, but we'll have to wait and see. I have been kind of keeping an eye on the timesheet. A few drivers have gone into pit, but I have not really seen any tire changes or anything like that, so I think these are people that have just gone in and kept the tires the way they are, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Definitely. I mean, we're seeing... Ooh, there was a bump there. Very sportsmanlike, though, because 340 slowed down. He knew he was at fault, just let Dip get back to it. But that is going to hurt Dip's tyres, definitely, with that kind of slide through Brooklands. That is not going to help the... not going to help their race. 340 is going to be continuing. I mean, again, there's no damage, but the only real damage is going to be to the ego, as we are seeing a battle for P4. It looks like Packer looked for a move around the outside, but Kelly, who did have a bit of an incident earlier, able to make it, keep it there at club. Packer is going to continue behind them in that Lamborghini, really just trying to harry that Ferrari as much as they can, and just trying to force them offline, get that gap opened up, and making some sort of move on RK. We are going to look back towards F-Spirit and Gator at the moment, who are having a bit of a battle. F-Spirit is doing a really good job at recovering the car, but Chris isn't very happy about that, as he wants to get that P12. He is really just waiting for his moment to pounce, as Suzuka currently is leading them P10 in that Lamborghini, as I think we are seeing some other drivers who are going into the pit lane now, though F-Spirit is really putting some pressure on Suzuka, looking kind of up the inside. All the drivers are going to be taking a very similar line through these two corners, trying to keep as much speed as they can. F-Spirit goes a little bit wide. Chris does go for a bit of a look, but can't make anything of it. So coming through Woodcote, we're going to have a little bit of a three-way battle here for P10. The gaps are roughly similar, around 0.2 of a second between each of the drivers. Stuff is going to get really, really intense now.
Yeah, we can see the P6 driver, Luke Parker, has gone in for for their mandatory pit stop. They are the first of the top drivers to be going in for a pit stop. So it's going to be interesting to see if pulling that trigger so early is going to pay off for them in the long run. But as we follow along now with this battle still on board with Chris, it's getting very tight. You can see Suzuka is doing everything they can to make that car as wide as physically possible. You can see now F-Spirit trying to make a move on the inside. They absolutely send it into the club. Is it going to be enough? As we see Suzuka going extremely wide going in the club. I think they tried to maybe go for an over-under. It didn't work in the worst possible way. They didn't just lose one spot, they lost two.
I mean, that was a very, very audacious move from F-Spirit, but they made that work. I mean, they are the faster driver out of this kind of group at the moment. They are losing a lot of time behind this, what some would even consider traffic, but with a 7-second gap to the next car, Vossi, he's just going to have time to basically hot lap and just try and pull the car into the pit lane. We've seen a lot more of these drivers go into the pits. The leading car that has pitted is currently Packer, who is down in P18, but they are on some fresh medium tyres, as F-Spirit does go a little bit wide. We are looking at MNU at the moment, who is in the pit lane.
Yeah, MNU in for his stop is off the lead lap. Looks like they're going to try to go for an early pit stop, see what they can do. It is around that time where the top drivers should be starting to consider when they want to pit, and we've been seeing the top 10 all coming in the box for the undercut. We'll see if this works out, as Tyler has now taken the lead. It's going to be an open track. Will they be able to gain... they need to gain a little bit of time for... between... I believe now we are following a battle between Dip and Drift 360 as they head down through Maggots and Beckett's 340, forgive me. We are now heading down the hangar straight, as it looks like Esprit is just trying everything they can to maybe try to make another move. They've tried once before, it ended in disaster, unfortunately, and they had to give the position back. And even with this pushing, I'd like to point out, they've caught up to another driver. I believe that is that is RK ahead, who has just gone off with cold tires. So this could make things even more interesting because they're just trying to get their tires warmed up. Meanwhile, these two behind them are absolutely fighting for their life, it seems like. Now heading for bridge. And now it is 340 going to try again. No, they are not. They're going to keep it steady as they try desperately to maybe go for another move. I kind of foresee one of two things going on right here. It's either going to be they either go for the undercut. Actually, no, they've passed pit lane. Oh no, now they have, and yeah, they're staying out. I think it's now become a battle of who's going to pull the trigger first. And if I know Dip, he's going to wait till the very last minute. There's 7 minutes left till the pit lane closes. So for Dip, it's going to be now or never. But he is known for staying out as late as physically possible, as I am keeping an eye on who's in the pits and who isn't. Slowly but surely, our top 15s have been pitting and now going out. It'll be interesting to see where everything lines up. Looks like there hasn't really been any position changes in the pit lane, which is a little bit surprising considering the difference in pace. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see when or if something happens. Now heading down toward Abbey, and this battle has not let up at all, and these two drivers have not pitted. So I don't know what the game plan here is. Is it a game of who pulls the trigger first, or who will make the move? But that's not going to help the move. That's not going to help the move at all. Drift 340, unfortunately, cut a little bit too deep going into the chicane and ate the curb, and it lost them so much time. That's super unfortunate. And that was a close battle that has unfortunately come to an abrupt end due to just one little mistake. As we continue to follow along with 340, as we are now following along with Damien, who's catching up to, I believe, Olsen. I don't know their Simufur name offhand. And as we follow along now, all of a sudden they've gained a lot of time going out of the chicane. Now heading down through bridge and into Priory, looking for a move. Is this going to be the move as they head down toward the for the last two corners? I believe these two have pitted. So the question now becomes, well, as I say that, Parker has not pitted in until now. Parker has now gone into the pit lane to serve their stop. They have 4.5 minutes, or our drivers have 4.5 minutes to make those stops. And it looks like slowly but surely they've been coming in, and we've only had a few drivers that have not pitted, and that is Tyler, Suzuka, and Chris. All three of them have not pitted yet, and they are in the top three. So this is only a temporary P3 until they make their stops. And the question becomes here is, I almost want to say that Suzuka is looking to maybe try to go for either an overcut or an undercut, but they've been staying out pretty long to maybe make a gap or to do something. I'm not entirely sure as we follow along with Tyler going through Magnus and Beckett's as they catch up to a little bit of lap traffic and head down toward Club. And
yeah, so the only cars at the moment I can see that haven't come in the pit lane are Tyler and Suzuka. I mean, Suzuka maybe just going a little bit long. They might even be trying to go onto the soft tyre towards the end of this stint. They've managed to keep their mediums going for nearly 45 minutes now, or more than 45 minutes at this point. But Tyler has been playing it very safe on those hard tyres. Currently has a gap of about 45 seconds to Suzuka. I don't know how much time we're actually losing in the pit stops, but Chris has now pulled into pit lane. Now one of the few final drivers to go into the pits. The leading driver who has pitted is RK, who is currently leading Wushel by about 6.5 seconds. And we're looking back now at Lily, who has a 0.5 second gap behind her to F-Spirit, who is in same Aston Martin, but is really trying to put that pressure on now. I mean, their final lap was their fastest lap of the their personal best lap, a 46.1, whereas Lily's last lap was a 48.0. And this is F-Spirit on mediums that I think are maybe a little bit older based on the pit window information that I do have here. So F-Spirit is really just taking a bit of a different approach. I think there was a car that locked up in the background there. So we have a few more DNFs as F-Spirit goes up the inside onto the farm straight. Very surgically executed move by F-Spirit.
Oh, you say that?
Wow, I'm so sorry for jinxing that. That is commentator's curse at its finest as Lily goes over the curb, and I think this hits F-Spirit round in that Aston Martin. So that, I mean, it looks like they're slowing down. Tyler stays out, but F-Spirit is now being let past. So Lily has acknowledged that that was their mistake. So they are going to get a little bonk on the hand for that. But yeah, so for overall lead, we're now looking at Tyler, who has actually pitted onto another set of hard tyres from what my data is telling me, and they still have about a 16-second lead to RK behind them. So I think the car that you're seeing in the back of frame there was Laparcho, who, you know, they're still doing a pretty decent job, but they are behind by an extra lap. Currently, Tyler does not actually have the fastest lap of the race. That honour goes to MNU, who does have the fastest lap with a 45.5. And they are just trying to hold back Packer at the moment, trying to catch up to Wushel, about 3 seconds a gap between them. We're looking, at the Aston Martin of MNU, the number 58, with the orange-coloured front grille. Their pace is still looking very solid compared to Wushel ahead of them, and their previous lap was about 7/10 quicker, so at this current pace, they'll probably catch up within the next 3 or 4 laps, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on this kind of gap here, and seeing whether MNU can catch up to Wushel, and if they can claim a podium. It would be very, very interesting to see, as, again, it looks like MNU was actually faster by about a second on that lap. We're going to look back towards Newt, who's made a really good job climbing up into P12 after having a lot of trouble earlier on in the race, and now with F-Spirit behind them, Newt's really just going to try and hold on for as long as they can to keep P12. F-Spirit takes a wider line on the entry, trying to carry as much speed out of the corner as possible. Newt in the 5.75 with that DB9 with a V12 screaming right behind them. They're going to be coming through Cops now onto Maggots and Beckett's. F-Spirit is, again, one of the faster drivers on the grid. Their previous lap good enough for a 46.3, which is more than 1.3 seconds faster than Newt's previous attempt. But don't forget, Newt is also a very skilled driver when it comes to defending. You know, we've seen them in many different Simufur races able to put up a really, really good fight, even with drivers that are on pure pace faster than them. Currently on board with F-Spirit, who is really trying to hound that Ferrari for the position. Goes a little bit more narrow coming through Club, but Newt goes a bit wider, I think, to carry more speed. Now coming at the Vale chicane, it's all about how you can put the power down on the exit here, and whether you can, you know, really just put it properly down. Aston Martin, of course, with a little bit of their traction control, which, while it's not much, it's still something. Maybe helping them a bit as they come through Abbey and onto the farm straight now. Newt has a little bit of a wobble on the exit, cuts a little bit of the grass on the outside. F-Spirit manages to make their move past. Going back up to MNU, that gap has decreased substantially. We're now down to half a second. I think Wushel might have had some sort of mistake there. The Aston Martin flying through Maggots and Beckett's, trying to chase down the Lamborghini, trying to see if they can make that move happen. They might be keeping themselves in the mirror of the Lambo, just trying to keep Wushel aware. MNU's Aston Martin is right behind, and they could go for that move at any point. Let's not forget that not only is racing about the physical skill and talent, but there is also a level of mind games that does go into it. You do kind of need to get into your opponent's head, understand how they're thinking, and kind of use that to your advantage. Understand their weaknesses, and really just use them as MNU hops over the curb with a very stiff suspension of that Aston Martin. Probably going to make them have to go visit the chiropractor after this race, as Wushel does go a little bit wide coming into Abbey, cuts back, trying to carry a little bit more speed through Brooklands and Luffield. But MNU is still there. They're still looking for that move, getting all the way in Wushel's mirrors. MNU's previous lap of 46.0 compared to Wushel's 47.3. They're going to get held up pretty much by Wushel, as MNU's going to continue to try and climb their way up through the grid.
Yeah,
they are very close.
Definitely holding their nerve as I say that. They go extremely wide going into turn 1, and that is unfortunately that. MNU able to get right around. That's super unfortunate. We've been seeing a lot of drivers get caught out on turn 1. And another thing I want to bring up, I'd like to point out that the guy that's in position P1 right now, he had an incident at the start. He then stayed out the entire time, waited the box to the last minute, and by some miracle has pulled a 14-second gap with 15 minutes to go. The only way RK could actually catch up is if he gains a minute at this point, which is almost impossible.
Yeah,
so
it'll be the time at 2 seconds a lap, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't count it out though, because anything can happen in racing, and it usually does. I think the start of this race really just proved that point. There is, of course, still the chance, and let's not forget, MNU is technically also possibly within the fight for the lead. With their current pace, the way that it is, they might be able to catch up to RK at least to grab P2. That is kind of at the minimum that MNU is hoping for. I'm not going to rule anything out, because there's still plenty of opportunities for any of the drivers to make a mistake. RK and MNU are going to continue to push as hard as they can to get the positions that they really, really want. But this is looking to be a very, very spicy battle towards the end of this race.
Ooh, I saw that. That looked like it got loose, and I was right. Unfortunately, Dip got very wide going into Priory and just lost all their rear grip, and unfortunately it opened the door for, I believe that is Azure, and that was super, super unfortunate. They had a really good battle starting, and unfortunately I don't think it's over yet. Here we go, going into turn 1. Dip looking for an absolute send going on the inside. Is it going to work? Here we go. It is dead even heading toward Maggots and Beckett's. Dip on the inside. They've got the better run going in. Here we go into Maggots. No problems there. Into Beckett's. Still no problem. It looked like Dip was able to get the over-under and get it to work perfectly. Amazing job by Dip, and able to keep the car going as we see Azure kind of cut in a little bit too much going down toward the hangar straight.
Yeah, Dip just executed that perfectly. Decisive move up the inside, and he knew that would probably end up being the inside of the next corner. Just really able to keep the car going where he needed to get it. And that is the dodge of Dip up into P10, and I believe dodge and dip are 2 of the 6 core components of dodgeball, but dip is doing a fantastic job of keeping that dodge on the track.
You're on a roll today with these puns, aren't you?
This is just the sort of commentary that I'm used to doing. You know, I gotta slide in a couple jokes. If I'm just yapping about race, you know, I gotta make sure people are paying attention. You know.
Speaking of racing, Drift 340. That is a move on the inside going into Abby. Absolutely send it. Who was that? That was
I think that was Lily.
That was It looks like it was Lily. They just absolutely and with authority sent it on the inside of Lily going into Abby, and that almost cost them because I think there was a little bit of a tap going into the corner, but look who's taking advantage of it. Right behind them, that's Suzuka. Seeing if maybe they can make a move here as they follow behind Lily, as Drift is pulling away at this point, but leaving Lily to the clutches of Suzuka as they come in, and it looks like Lily had gone a little bit wide going into turn 1. That's not going to be good. Here comes Suzuka with the run going into Maggots and Baggots. Is it going to be enough to maybe make a move going into the hangar straight? Suzuka going in and out, setting those apexes up perfectly, as I see a little bit of smoke coming from behind. I don't know who that was. We'll have to take a look later as we head down towards the hangar straight. It looks like Lily was able to get a little bit more traction going out of that last corner and able to build a gap as they head toward club.
Yeah, Suzuka is still narrowing that gap, sitting at about 7/10 at the moment, so this could be a three-way fight for P14 that we're seeing now. Lily's going to try their absolute hardest to pull away from the charging bull behind, or should I say charging shark, I suppose. It's both. It's both. It's the car and the driver who are both in control. We're looking at F-Spirit and Azure now. Who is looking for a move coming into Brooklands. Azure is also pressuring Dip for position, so I think Azure might have gained that on F-Spirit, maybe a mistake somewhere, or Azure just nipping up the inside where they needed to, and Dip currently in the lead of this three-man pack for P10. Azure is kind of collectively known within Simufur as the Assetto Corsa guy, having basically an entire catalogue. He's got the Library of Babel of Assetto Corsa mods stored entirely on his computer. Multiple terabytes. I think he would put big data centers to shame with the amount of cars and tracks that he has to hand. So he's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to Assetto Corsa, and I think Azure's really proving it now, hounding Dip for P10, really challenging the Viper to a little bit of a challenge. Up the inside, he looks for the move, but he does think a bit better of it. As that, oh my gosh, they're getting closer and closer. F-Spirit looking up the inside.
Oh, that's an absolute send!
That is a send and a half. I think he put that on first class, tracked and signed all the way into Azure's rear bumper, but they all manage to keep it on the track. I don't know how the hell they managed that.
So I want to point out, F-Spirit locked up going into the corner. I saw that because of his nuclear red brake discs as he went into the corner and just locked up. And by some miracle, not only did nobody really lose anything, everybody walked away fine.
Bit of a bump there. Commentators curse 101. I think Dip might have had a bit of a moment. Azure hits the back of Dip, who then...
That's Chris.
Chris has spun it. Chris has also spun it through Brooklands. He's reversing off the track, just trying to get out of the way of a lot of these drivers. He's going to have overheated tyres. He's going to have to take it really careful. But yeah, that was a really weird incident. I think Dip might have had a little bit of a wobble that slowed him down. Azure ended up maybe either braking or hitting the back of Dip, which, I mean, F-Spirit didn't really have any time to react to that. Ended up in the back of Azure's car. I think it is the Lister that... No, it's not, it's the Ferrari. I keep getting confused. That Azure was driving, and that has just made it a little bit more tricky. That has opened up the gap as Azure is now up into P10. Dip has gone up to P9 as well. And the gap between Azure and Dip is about 7/10. Between F-Spirit and Drift 340, we're looking around half a second, 6/10 roughly. But these two drivers are absolutely sending it through these corners. They're two very decisive, aggressive overtakers. So I'm really excited to see what sort of moves Drift 340 and F-Spirit are going to try and pull out of their back pocket within the last 7 minutes of this race.
Everything has gone down to the last 10 minutes. 7 minutes on the clock as we see battle after battle going on. And it is still... I'd also still like to point out the man in P4, MNU, or P3 MNU, still holds the fastest time. And I'm looking at the current times. That's strange, actually. Tyler, I was just looking at the pace, and Tyler has actually fallen off. Their last lap was 2 seconds off. As we follow along now with... As we follow along now with Damien heading back toward the sea, or Azure, I'm sorry, my brain shut off for a second. As we follow along, going through T1, Azure is now caught back up to Dip, and we're going to get a round 2 as we head down toward Maggots and Beckett's. Azure really trying to get as much room as he can. Dip keeping it in the middle and trying to defend as best he can. Azure had an amazing run going into Maggots, though. That's going to be a big problem if Dip can't get the car straight going into Beckett's. And now heading down the hangar straight. Azure, I think, is within striking distance of Dip going into Club, but they will not do it. But instead, they will lock up going into the corner. Still managed to keep the car on the straight and true as they head down toward the next chicane, and no problems. But they did manage to gain a lot of time on Dip. They're now pushing them through Club basically at this point. It's going to be a matter of who gets the better run going out of Club. Here we go down to the long straight, heading toward the Abbey chicane. Is Azure going to try to make a move? No, he's not. Dip doing an amazing job keeping the car in the middle to prevent Azure from making a move. That was They tapped the... I believe that was the
inside curb there at the corner leading on the farm straight. That was a very nail-biting moment there. I wouldn't be surprised if Azure is going to call a code brown for that little incident. I mean, the curbs are unforgiving here. Dip really showing off his experience in karting with a little bit of a wobble on the exit of that corner. They're about to lap Mastone, I believe. And I mean, things are very, very close between these two very, very talented drivers who are now going to try and navigate lap traffic.
Oh, that was Mastone
and Mastone coming together.
Did they hit? I couldn't tell from that angle. It looked like I couldn't tell from that angle. It did look like they hit, but I couldn't tell because of the angle.
I think they may have just drifted a little bit wide. I think that might have just sent Mastone off the track and into the wall. I mean, Mastone has been doing a fantastic job keeping the car going. I mean, they are, I believe, one of the junior drivers for Blue Shark E-Racing, so seeing them competing in a racing series with cars that are this difficult to drive, it's a real test. It's a real trial by fire. And I think they've been doing a fantastic job so far. A bit of an unfortunate incident they got caught up with there. But Azure and Dip are going to continue their battle, basically, I think, to the end of the race. Azure does go for a little look up the inside, coming to Club Corner, opening up the track as much as possible. They're now approaching the lap traffic. I believe that is Swingley, and Dip has lost it! Dip's lost the car. I couldn't tell if there was any contact there, but Dip has spun the car around Farm Corner. He's now losing position to 340. He's now down at P13. Not what you want to be seeing with only 3 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. I couldn't tell from that angle either. Maybe there was contact. We'll have to wait and see as we follow along now with the next closest battle. This is, I believe this is Oily following or catching up to Lily at this point as they head down toward the final corner. Is Oily... Yeah, I believe this will be another mistake from Lily, but it's opened the door for Oily to see if maybe they can gain another spot. We'll have to wait and see. Heading down into turn 1, the gap's closing, but Lily has been the faster driver technically, so we'll just have to see. They've got only 2 minutes to go, so I think this will be either this lap or the next lap will be the last lap. So
Yeah, it looks like Tyler's actually catching some lapped traffic here. RK is only 2 seconds behind, so like we said earlier, we shouldn't really write off that RK or even MNU could be challenging for the lead here. The gap between Tyler and RK is down to 2 seconds. The gap between RK and MNU is about 2 seconds. So again, anything could happen, but Tyler just needs to hold on for maybe one more lap. If they can just keep the car together, might be able to just bring it home, depending on how they play this.
I mean, RK is now a second and a half. It is on now. This next lap will be the last lap. Minute 17 to go. RK is giving it everything he's got, trying to gain up that on that last corner. We'll have to see. It's going to be close. They were at a minute 45 when they went through the start, or about a minute 47, minute 46. It's going to be close. It'll either be here or this next lap. We'll have to wait and see. It's within a second. I'm wondering, is Tyler pulling like this 5D move and trying to slow themselves down just enough to where they will get to the finish line right at the time as the clock ends? If that's the case, then Tyler would have it. But if not, he'll have to fight for one more lap. This is one heck of a gamble as they head down through Priory. 30 seconds left. It's going to be close.
I think there's going to be an extra lap. I think there's going to be an extra lap here. I don't think Tyler's managed to slow down enough. So this fight is very much still going to be on. We might see a three-way battle for the lead on the final lap of the race between Tyler, RK and MNU as they cross the finish line with just 6 seconds left to go. So this is 100% going to be the last lap. As they come through Cops now. RK really chasing down Tyler, coming through Maggots and Beckett's. It's all going to be... it's a one-lap shootout, pretty much, for the lead between these top 3 drivers. 2 Ferraris and an Aston Martin pulling their way through Maggots and Beckett's now. RK is really just trying to send it, but MNU is right there as well.
MNU absolutely setting it into the hangar straight, heading down toward Club corner. It looks like RK's going to try to make a move on the outside. Here we go with the last lap. RK making a move, absolute move on the outside. It looks like
outside.
Absolutely sent to the outside. It looks like Tyler had gotten a really horrible corner move, and they've now dropped from first
there's a lock
all
up.
the way down to third.
RK! It looks like they're going side by side with MNU. RK barely able to hold on to the first place. RK with that move around the outside at Club Corner, just able to open up that gap for MNU to slide right on through. So in just one corner, Tyler's lost 2 full positions. These 2 cars are still going to be fighting all the way to the end of the race. Down the farm straight they go now. MNU is chasing down RK to try and get that lead as they come through Priory now. There's only a few corners left. It's now or never. MNU off the inside of Brooklands. A little bit of a lock up there from MNU, but they're able to make that move. He's going to look around the outside. RK is still holding it, coming through Loffield as they're going to go through Woodcut now. It's going to be side by side right over the finish. MNU is able to get past through Woodcut. They go, and MNU wins the first round of the Simufur GT Legends Series. Fantastic driving from the Belgian.
What? a 16-second gap all the way down to nothing. And MNU from third to first. Here we go. This is going to be, I believe this is Luke. This is for P5. Fez trying to hold off on the last corner. It looks like Fez got it. Yeah, Fez has gotten it. It was super, super close. Awesome job by Fez. And I think a little bit of help from Luke because they definitely got very loose going on to the last corner. Now, one more battle. This is for P9. This is Newt, F-Spirit, and Drift 340. It is another last lap battle. Can Newt hold on? Two cars right there with him, heading down toward the last corner. It looks like F-Spirit was going to try to make a move on the outside. No luck there. It looks like Newt's going to hold on at the last second.
I am going to need a moment to breathe. This has been one of the most insane races I have ever seen in my entire commentating and racing career. Not even just like out of sim racing. I mean, like I haven't seen a real race that has been this insane. As we see Suzuka take P13, Lily P14, Oily doing a very good run there to get P15, Ket 18th, and McDonald currently in 19th, finishing off their lap. We've still got a few more drivers that I think are yet to finish their final lap, but that might have been one of the most incredible races I've ever had the pleasure to commentate. This is the most insane race. This is setting a really good precedent for the rest of the series.
Oh, absolutely. If it's going to be this close here at Silverstone, I am very much interested to see how the rest of this race is going to turn out. As we follow along now with Parker, who's coming around on the last corner, and they are just going to box, which, I don't know, that might not have been the move. I think Parker misjudged how close they were to the start-finish line. They might have lost a position here. Yeah. As we see everybody cooling down, we were following a little bit of a pack with Sierra and a few others. I think this is all Blue E drivers that are rolling through. Just a cute little pack. That's... Oh, man, that...
Once again. I honestly, if every single race is going to be like that, I think I'm going to lose my voice in the next 4 weeks. But this has been round one of the Simufur GT Legends Championship, and you know what? I am very excited to see how the rest of this series is going to play out. Oh my gosh! Fighting all the way from start to finish, chaos at the start, loads of spins, a couple of crashes, a few little incidents, fantastic racing all the way throughout. I don't think I could have asked for a better start to the series, and with this layout at Silverstone, I think it really does just promote better racing with a lot more heavy braking zones, the cars unpredictable, the track incredibly fast and flowing with a few tight technical sections. Ultimately, it was MNU that was able to take it on the last lap with some very decisive overtaking. RK barely losing out and Tyler managing to finish P3 after some disappointment on that last lap. It has been an absolute honour to commentate for this first round of the Simufur GT Legends series. You can join us next week at the same time, where we're going to be going to Road America for our second round of the series, which is one track that hasn't changed its layout pretty much at all, as far as I'm aware, since it was founded, but we'll go into more fun facts and trivia for the next round of the Simufur GT Legends Championship. I have been Frei.
And I have been Wolfin. Unfortunately, I will not be here next week, as I will be away. Filling in for me will be a newbie, so I wish you all the best of luck for next week. And if this track is going to be, if this was a sign of things to come, oh my God, I am so glad I am on vacation next week at this point, because my throat is dry and I've already gone through a bottle of tea and it's nuts. So yeah. I've gone through
at least a bottle and a half of water, I think. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But my God, I am it's going to be exciting. So tune in next time as we take on Road America for round 2 of Simufur GT Legends. We'll see you then. Bye bye.